valuable cog coming off the bench. But that's one thing about this Duke team. They've played 10 guys in every game that those 10 guys have been available. 10 guys in all 3 ACC games so far. So they'll miss more, but they are obviously a deep team.
This has been a very one-sided rivalry here between Duke and Georgia Tech. 12 straight wins against these Yellow Jackets for Duke. That's their longest active win streak against any ACC opponent. And Alvarado will set it up here for Georgia Tech.
And he's
the
going to
starting lineup: Alvarado, DeVoe, Usher, Wright, and James Banks III.
And DeVoe's going to, and Alvarado's going to have his hands full. Trey Jones, an outstanding defender, going against him. But Moses Wright for Georgia Tech has had a great season so far. Was dominant in that North Carolina game. Very good start.
At 22 points in Chapel Hill. 2 double-doubles in his last 4 games for Moses Wright. Josh Pastner wanted his club to get off to a good start. Sounds cliche, but much more important against a team like Duke. And some early steps for the freshman.
And I think freshman is a key. He hasn't played like a freshman for the most part, but he's going up against James Banks, who is a veteran inside player, an outstanding defender and shot blocker. It'll be an interesting test on the road for Vernon Carey Jr. today.
A Duke team that will press you the full 94.
Now, defense has been this team's calling card.
The screen from Banks. The roll underneath. Carey with the rebound.
See, if you're going to get a shot like that against Duke, you're going to have to make it if you expect to win the game. Banks just didn't get himself settled.
Carey down low. Banks showing some good defense there. And that'll be a jump ball as the ball got stuck in between the rim and the backboard. Here's Mike Krzyzewski again. 1,072 career wins at Duke. 5 national championships. Been a college head coach since 1975, and certainly in our conversation today with him, still exudes the same amount of energy and passion for the game.
It's amazing.
DeVoe to Alvarado. Josh Pastner wanted a good start. He's got it tonight.
Georgia Tech not normally a team that forces a lot of turnovers, but that's a great way to get your offense rolling.
Good hands there from Alvarado as he shows some exuberation. Josh Pastner looking for a card, looking for a play call. Coach of the year in the ACC just a few short years ago.
I think they're going to do 12.
You're there at shoot around today. That was certainly one of the plays they were working on. Trey in the air and gets fouled. That'll be on DeVoe.
One of the things that Georgia Tech does is they change defenses. You have a hard time settling in sometimes against the Jackets because they're in a man-to-man, they're in a matchup zone, and they change the face of the zone, they change the look of the zone. So you really have to be paying attention on offense. You just can't be winging the ball around.
Trey Jones has been terrific this season. Missed a couple of games with an injury. But again, one of the nation's leading assist leaders, leads the ACC in assists with 7 a game, gets that free throw to go. And maybe most importantly, celebrating a birthday today. What'd you bring him?
Well, I actually didn't bring him anything. Jack White said he was going to give him a victory. So
Trey Jones at one point after shoot-around today was without a shirt. Jack White said, Trey, I'm going to get you a shirt for your birthday. Nice roll there from Banks underneath.
I think he traveled.
He did.
Once again, Banks gets it at point-blank range, but how good was that Duke defense? Vernon Carey was the guy who was standing there when he walked, but I think that was Hurt that went flying by and forced Jones to stop and try to regather himself. Or excuse me, Banks to stop and try to regather himself.
2 very active defensive teams. Jones inside to Carey. Carey with the nice post move over Banks.
And that's, first of all, that's quickness to get to that position, but what power to get up there through Banks, who again is one of the best shot blockers in the ACC.
Talking to Coach K today and telling us that Carey didn't really play in the post in high school. This is the first time that he's really done that. And doing it at Duke says that footwork just comes naturally. Such a gifted player.
Well, there's a lot of things that come naturally, but one of the things, if stuff comes naturally, it helps you a great deal with hard work, and he has certainly worked hard. Mike Krzyzewski said he's probably absorbed as much as any player that Mike Krzyzewski's ever had in terms of teaching. And that's an amazing, amazing comment from a guy like Mike Krzyzewski.
Right, with a nice move there. We'll get to the line. The foul's going to be on Cassius Stanley. It's team foul number 2 for Duke.
Well, Moses Wright has this year become a handful on the inside. He's very aggressive. He looks to score when he gets it in there.
And into the game, Jordan Goldwire, great defensive player here for Duke, coming in. Alex O'Connell checking in as well. Bunch of experience there. 79th career game for Goldwire with Duke. O'Connell, 87th career game with Duke. Some great experience off the bench.
When Moses Wright is not a guy who's a great passer, so when he gets the ball, Duke needs to collapse on him and force him to give it up.
Free ball from Hurt, no good. Inside is CAREY, ball on the ground. CAREY lost it on the way up. DeVoe with a head of steam, but gets his pocket picked by Goldwire.
Boy, and that's one of the things Duke does really well. They take it from you from behind.
O'Connell. Jones for 3.
Jones has never been a great three-point shooter during his career. We showed you those numbers earlier. A better three-point shooter this year than last, but he always seems to make big threes, and I thought that was a very important basket for Duke. Georgia Tech is trying to take control of the game, and the Blue Devils just not allowing it.
Their first lead of the night, his 15th 3 of the season. Alvarado tries to swing it around the Banks. They can get some production from Banks down low. That's a bonus.
Georgia Tech playing in the man-to-man. I think Jones was looking for a foul.
Moses Wright.
And who was down there defending him? Who was down there to prevent him from getting the easy basket? Vernon Carey Jr. can really run.
DeVoe, little stutter step. Right! And a foul! The foul on Carey. Georgia Tech with a 3.
Team this year, they're at least as dominant as this team was, as the Duke team was last year. Not as hyped, but they have played extremely well. Now, Mike Krzyzewski's not happy with the way the game has started, but look at these numbers for Duke. They lead the ACC in all of these categories. That appears to be a dominant kind of number, a group of numbers to me.
Certainly dominant relative to the league, as you see Wright collect on that free throw. 10-6, Georgia Tech with the lead.
And now Georgia Tech, they've been in a man-to-man. Now they've switched. And they'll switch defenses throughout the game. They're playing in that matchup zone.
Hurt with the pump fake, the rejection. Nice defense shown by Banks.
You better be strong when you're taking it to James Banks, because he tries to get everything.
What do you like about what Georgia Tech is doing here in the first 5?
Well, I just think they're playing very aggressive. They haven't turned there. I'm not turning the ball over. They're making good plays.
Look at Alvarado.
And that's a perfect example. Alvarado has drawn the defense to him and passed. They played him to pass, but he surprised him and he shot.
Goldwire, nothing doing. Banks with the rebound. Alvarado looking to push. Right. Had Banks on a great feed off his fingertips. Look at that, 10 points in the paint, almost a carbon copy of what we saw in Chapel Hill.
Well, this is a situation. You see how Banks doesn't go for the fake. He keeps his feet, and he doesn't jump to try to block the shot until Hurt goes up in the air. And then Moses Wright knocks the ball away from Delorier. So a very good inside play early in this game for Georgia Tech on both ends.
Evan Cole checks in for Georgia Tech, a 7-0 run for the Yellow Jackets. Duke has gone ice cold.
They're taking poor shots. That was not a good shot by Hurt right there. You know, if he's going to take an open jump shot, I'm fine with that. But early in the shot clock, forcing one like that is not a good play.
2 for 9 shooting from the floor are the Blue Devils here in the first 6 minutes. Wright draws the double. Cole!
You know, Moses Wright came into this game with only 10 assists on the season, and that's his first one today, and he'd had another one if Banks could have caught the ball, so he's doing a great job passing the ball early.
Drawing a double team, finding the cutting Cole. The bigs getting involved for Georgia Tech. Much needed bucket there for O'Connell. Foul on Wright, second team foul for Georgia Tech. You know, we talked to Josh Pastner today. How would your team handle the success that you had against North Carolina? He said, look, I was concerned about that, but then I saw the way we practiced on Monday. It got physical. I had to separate some guys. They were into it. He's got to like the start here tonight. Bubba Parham with a head of steam. Alvarado. Wright skies for the rebound, and it gets wedged.
Now, that's 2 wedgies that we've had in the first 6.5 minutes of the game. How often do you see that?
A letter in the mailbox of the hoop. 14-8. Georgia Tech with the lead. Matt Schick along with Dan Bonner. Georgia Tech fresh off a huge win on the road against North Carolina. And trying to find their first win against Duke in 10 years.
Really impressed with the energy, the enthusiasm, the efficiency so far by Moses Wright for Georgia Tech. He's running the court very well. He's been a factor both offensively and defensively.
Here's Bubba Parham handling the basketball, the transfer from VMI. Scored 21 a game last year in the SoCon. Cole looking for Wright. Moses Wright so active. It's going to be Duke basketball, but you mentioned it. He's been all over the court. That's
really good defense by Duke. They forced Wright into a difficult shot, the kind of shot he's been making so far, but it was a difficult shot, and Cole wasn't able to get the tip.
Moses Wright going to get a breather here.
Georgia Tech in that matchup zone again. It looks like a 1-3-1, but then they go and they play. The defense morphs into whatever the offense is doing.
What's the key about attacking that zone if they mix it up so often?
You've got to get the ball inside the zone. You can't attack it just by playing on the perimeter.
Kick to O'Connell.
And that's what I mean. You don't have to dunk the ball against the zone, but you get the ball inside, you cause the defense to at least look that way, and then you get it outside to a three-point shooter.
O'Connell with 5 early points here off the bench. Parham the step back.
Parham was a big scorer at VMI, but that's a tough shot for a guy his size trying to go over Jack White.
Good defense shown here, denying inside, except here. Here's White muscling in, but Banks gets the rejection.
Boy, it is such a great help to your defense to have a guy like that, like Banks inside, who can erase mistakes.
DeVoe got a nice little screen there on the drive from Banks, and he will go to the free throw line. Banks showing some offense, and how about some defense as well? Tech with an early 3-point lead.
Catching a breather right now, but you can better believe he's not going to be over there long.
6 points, 3 rebounds, and an assist for Moses Wright. You look at that Georgia Tech points in the paint, 12 points in the paint here early. They had 32 points in the paint in the first half against North Carolina, trying to pick up where they left off.
Well, another factor is you can see Duke has turned it over 3 times, and the Blue Devils only scored 4 baskets. That's generally not a formula for success, and I think you have to credit the Georgia Tech defense with that.
DeVoe makes both of his free throws, a 5-point lead here for the home team. 12 straight losses in the series to Duke for Georgia Tech.
That's really good ball movement by Duke.
Hurt's got such a quick release on that shot.
Yeah, he does, and that time he shot an open one, and that's what he's got to do. You got to try to get open shots, not those contested devils.
It's a nice set shot there for Hurt. 3 made 3-point field goals here for Duke, down by 2. Harm leaves his feet. Alvarado working on Hurt. Cole, the cut. Hurt with the rejection. Nice defense here by Duke.
We talked about how you beat a zone. Well, you beat a zone by forcing the zone to guard the ball and then moving it quickly, and that's exactly what Duke did. Hurt had the ball inside, passed it outside, then went to the corner. The zone defense just not able to react sufficiently quickly to get out and get it.
Matthew Hurt has certainly come on strong. Last 8 games, shoot 57% from the floor, had a career-high 25 against Boston College. Georgia Tech's gone ice cold. 1 on the shot clock. Banks didn't get it off. He did not.
Now, Banks didn't realize that there was no time left on the shot clock. And Matt, I'm telling you, if you watch this game without looking at the scoreboard, you might think that Georgia Tech had a substantial lead, but the Duke Blue Devils have never gone away.
Josh Pastner said, better get him early. It could be a long day. 4 turnovers for Georgia Tech here so far. Saturday night, we'll take you to Cameron Indoor Stadium for number 2 Duke hosting Wake Forest. Blue Devils have won 10 in a row in the series, 18 of the last 19. 8 o'clock Eastern right here on ACC Network and the ESPN app. That last foul on Banks. Georgia Tech off and running here. Alvarado for 3.
That's the kind of shot that Georgia Tech's going to have to make if they're going to win this game. A wide open 3 in transition.
Alvarado knows as CAREY tries to throw it down. Banks with the rejection. Banks had some words on the way down. And Goldwire knocks it out of bounds. Banks has come to play tonight.
We talked about Duke and their ability to block shots, but watch Banks react very quickly. He's guarding the ball, takes just 1 step, gathers himself. This is a situation where Vernon Carey Jr. may have wanted to consider a pump fake.
4 blocks tonight for Georgia Tech. Banks with a couple of them. He's got 4 games of 5 or more blocks on the season.
So you've got a mismatch here, but it's going to be hard for Alvarado to shoot the ball over Hurt. He's doing a great job just keeping his hand up.
Banks keeps it alive.
You know, Hurt did a nice job forcing the tough shot, but if Hurt's out on the perimeter, he's not inside to help with the rebounding.
Banks, one of the better rebounders here on this team. And some second chance points. And Baker's going to re-enter the game. Goldwire comes out. James Banks III, his 2nd year with the program after transferring from Texas, and a high-flying act for Cassius Stanley.
That's the first time we've mentioned Cassius Stanley, but he's got that high-flying act.
Mentioned Trey Jones. He's a sophomore, turns 20 today. Cassius Stanley is a freshman. He is 20. Right. Banks again.
Well, Banks is going to get credit for that, but I think Vernon Carey Jr. is the one who guided that into the basket. Didn't mean to.
Carey, the hoop and the harm, the foul on Banks.
And one of the problems for Georgia Tech is when you have a shot blocker, oftentimes he can get into foul trouble, and that's his 2nd foul. Now, his 1st foul he picked up by fouling Vernon Carey Jr. battling for position. So, and those are the kind of fouls that Banks has always gotten, and he's got to avoid.
That's his 2nd personal for James Banks.
That might make it a lot easier for Duke to attack inside.
Carey completes the 3-point play, and he will check out here for a breather. Such an efficient player.
But he just gets to the spot that he's supposed to be in, that he needs to be in. And once he gets the ball, he knows what to do with it.
DeVoe inside. Banks. 7 on the shot clock. Parham defended by Goldwire, and a foul going the other way.
That's 2 fouls on Moses Wright, and that's an illegal screen. Georgia Tech in a little bit of panic mode there with the shot clock running down. So 2 fouls on Banks, 2 fouls on... No. 2 on Wright.
Pastner doing a little coaching as Banks heads to the bench. Steps there, another turnover for Duke. This one on Baker, that's the 4th turnover for the Blue Devils.
Well, now, one of the things that we have to wonder with both of the big guys for Georgia Tech having a couple of fouls, if that will change the Georgia Tech defensive philosophy. They've been switching defenses, but might be hard for them to continue to play much man-to-man.
Trey Jones, one of the best defenders, if not the best, in the country, harassing Parham. Usher. One shot and done here for Georgia Tech. Wide open for Hurt. They don't ask you to draw a picture, just a make or a miss. That's a 3 for Hurt.
Doesn't matter how it goes through, as long as it goes through.
Duke with a 2-point lead. Right with the flush. One thing Josh Pastner stressed, points in transition, said Duke is one of the best transition offenses in the country. We have to get back.
Well, they gave up a 3 in transition to Hurt. Now they gave up that dunk to DeLaurier. The Duke defense has really stepped it up here.
Air ball there for Usher. And here comes Duke. 2-point lead for the Blue Devils. Number 2 team in the nation. Winners of 7 straight since their only loss to Stephen F. Austin. Cassius Stanley just makes it look so easy.
He does make it look easy, and it's not easy.
Cassius Stanley with a couple of early buckets. Jeff Collins enjoys what he sees. We'll chat with the Georgia Tech head coach next.
You leave it to me.
Speaking of recruiting, nice top 25 class for you. You knew you had the offensive turnaround, the scheme change, and all that. Jeff Sims, the quarterback, the big commit. How's that class looking in Sims, and how integral is he?
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. We've got 2 quarterbacks that came in January. We got 4 offensive linemen that average 6'6", 295 that are already here on campus. So really excited about the guys that we brought in the future of this program.
Here's Parham down low and a turnover. Turnover here for Georgia Tech. That's their 5th of the night.
You may not want Parham down low, Matt.
He can scoot. He got under the hoop, and Carey gets over the hoop. Vernon Carey, whose father played some college football there at Miami.
Absolutely.
Was an NFL offensive lineman.
Absolutely. And number 4, Usher, is playing really good. He's a freak of an athlete. Good to see him out here battling.
You know, the culture here, you guys trying to change that on the football side as we've got a foul here, much to the chagrin of Duke and Coach K. Talk about the culture. It's such a cliche word, but you see what Josh Pastner's trying to do. You're trying to do that as well. How does that manifest itself?
Yeah, absolutely. We've tried to embrace being here in the city of Atlanta, representing the 404. Everything that we do is embracing the culture that's a part of this great city. And we're a culture that's built on effort, grit, toughness, those kind of things. And that's what we're establishing. First year was unbelievable, establishing who we're going to be and just keep developing with our strength coach, Luke Corrales, who does a great job.
Must do a great job. You got guys lifting weights on the sideline before a game.
There's no doubt. The guys are all in. And it's really good to see our guys in the 2nd year understanding who we are, how to attack everything that we do.
Late shot clock to lead more. Got that off, but a bad shot and a good defensive possession here for Duke. Now a 6-point lead. Matt Dan Bonner here sitting with Jeff Collins, Georgia Tech head football coach. Carey's got the range off the back of the iron. That's going to be over the back on Matthew Hurt.
That was a great play by Jose Alvarado. You're talking about guys who battle. Alvarado in there, a little guy, but he went right at the legs of Matthew Hurt and blocked him out, forced that foul.
Yeah, he's a tenacious player. It's really good to get to know these guys. We're all in the same building, so you see them in the cafeteria all the time, get to know them, and to see them out here competing and representing the white and gold at a high level is fun to watch.
Right. Offensive foul. A nice cut from right. We've seen some good give and goes, but there, little positioning for Duke.
Vernon Carey Jr. just does a great job getting himself established, and if you're Moses Wright, you have to be very careful. He's got a jump stop there, not jump to the basket. That's his third personal foul. And generally when guys are in foul trouble, that's when they get in deeper foul trouble on the offensive end. You just have to understand the situation. You jump stop and you shoot a little jumper there.
So with 3 fouls with 5 minutes to go, we'll see if we see any more Moses Wright here for the remainder of the first half.
Boy, the Duke defense has taken over this game.
Carey with a nice lefty.
Of course, their offense isn't bad either.
Hey, you can be big and tough and also have some finesse.
Yeah, there's some athletic guys out here, and being this close up to them, it's very impressive. ACC basketball, there's nothing like it.
14-2 run here for Duke. By the way, last game of the season for Clemson coming up. They play LSU. Their first game of the season. You saw them.
Absolutely.
They certainly changed as Alvarado misses that shot, and here comes Cassius Stanley. Who's your pick? Who's your pick? You
got to stay with the conference and how they represent us at a high level, and we're working our way every single day to be at that level, and the future's bright around here. Excited to see great game, great matchup both offensively and defensively, and 2 teams that compete at the highest level.
Clemson and LSU coming up Monday night. 10-0 run here for Duke. And Georgia Tech, you don't want to let this game get away, but it might. Jordan Goldwire. 12-0 run for Duke. Jeff Collins, enjoy the rest of the game. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me on.
Back here in Atlanta after this.
This is
help. I'm trying to help he and the conference out to get a good win there in the national championship. Little old Clemson going to try and win yet another national championship against LSU. That's coming up on Monday. We'll have the Clemson hometown radio call on ACC Network, part of the MegaCast, coming up. Meanwhile here, Duke with a 12-point lead. They've hit 10 of their last 13 shots. Banks with a little move there, but draws contact.
Well, 10 of their last 13 shots is an important number, obviously, Matt. But the key to this whole turnaround has been Duke's increasing the defensive pressure. Early in the game, you saw Georgia Tech moving the ball from side to side, driving, drawing the defense, making passes. But Georgia Tech recently has struggled to get the ball across half court. Tremendous pressure on the basketball by Duke has turned Georgia Tech into dribblers, and as a result, their offense has sputtered.
Turnovers have been a huge problem throughout the season for Georgia Tech. They turned the ball over on 23% of their possessions. That's bottom 30 and the worst in terms of major college basketball programs nationally. Only turned the ball over 13 times against North Carolina. They've turned it over 8 times already tonight.
This is the #2 team in the country in defensive efficiency. So a formula where you turn the team that turns the ball over a lot is not in great position against a defensive team like this.
No team in the ACC gets more points off turnovers than Duke at 19. They've got 11 already. 5 on the shot clock.
Oh, what a move that is.
He's somewhat athletic.
Well, Michael DeVoe looked and wondered where he went.
DeVoe trying to return the favor. Tough shot on the fadeaway. Scramble for the ball. DeVoe tried to call a timeout.
Ball
he
sort
won't
of,
get it.
He went down to pick up the ball, and it sort of rolled up his leg, and that gave Delorier a chance to dive in there and get it.
Things have turned nicely here for Coach K and Duke. If you're Josh Pastner, what do you need to see? How do you get back to what you were doing in the first 5 minutes?
What you need to do is you need to get the ball out of the hands. If they're really harassing your guards coming up the court, get the ball out of the one guard's hand, get it into the other guard. You don't want your guards to have to work so hard just to get the ball across half court, because that disrupts the entire offense. You've got to do something to loosen the things up for those guys. That'll help.
Alvarado with the pickpocket of Jones. The kick to DeVoe, gotta have it. Parham for three.
Boy, that was a big basket, one that they really, really needed.
Georgia Tech's first made three of the night. It's a 7-point deficit. We reached the 2-minute mark. Jones. Parham with the rebound. Key stretch here going into the locker room. DeVoe short on the three.
I had an open three. I don't think there's any problem with that. You say, well, you know, he should have passed the ball or waited a little while, but I don't know that they were going to get a better shot. He just missed it.
Georgia Tech hit 6 of their first 7 shots. They got 4 for their last 21. Hurts. Such a mismatch. He's so patient in there. He was very poised. I think you got to go attack him when he's dribbling the ball in the lane like that. See what kind of passer he is. Coach K saying Matthew Hurt has become much more vocal over the last few games, trying to take on more of a leadership role. A true freshman.
Now Banks has to be careful setting those screens because he's got 2 fouls.
And that's another turnover. Number 9 for Georgia Tech.
Remember we showed you
basketball.
Remember we showed you early in the game that Duke had 4 turnovers? Well, they still have 4 turnovers.
Yeah, that was a while ago, too. 1 minute to go here in the first half.
Well, their defense has created easier offensive situations for them, and they have executed very well.
Turn. Laurier trying to fight for that rebound. That will be Georgia Tech ball. Stay tuned for the State Farm halftime report coming up. North Carolina falls to Pittsburgh. After the loss to Georgia Tech, they lose to Pitt. And Packer and Durham talking Clemson football and Virginia basketball. My goodness.
But Jeff Capel's got that Pitt team on the rise.
The steal.
Again, the Duke defense creating some easy offense.
DeVoe trying to return the favor. My goodness. Alex O'Connell, the 6'6 junior, a half hour from his hometown, throwing it down.
This is just what we're talking about, a lazy pass, and O'Connell, he nearly hurt himself. Watch as this ball comes through. He hits himself on the shoulder. It's a good thing he didn't hit himself in the nose. He may have broken his nose with that one.
Atlanta kid, high school 40 minutes north of here. Father David played basketball at Duke here in the 1970s.
Well, and Alex O'Connell is a young man whose shooting numbers have not been what they hoped they would be coming into the season. He's a guy, you know, Duke has played really well, and he has not played his best basketball. So that's one of the frightening things about this Duke team. They are 13-1. They're playing extremely well, and it seems they have a lot of room to grow.
9-point lead here for Duke. 26.7 seconds to go here in the first half. Rest of the first half straight ahead.
Well, and the Seminoles just went into Louisville and won the game there. So I think if you're going to say, I think that in some order, Florida State, Duke, and Louisville are the best 3 teams in the conference.
Head-to-head's got to mean something. Georgia Tech 13 turnovers last game. They've got 10 already in the first half. We'll see if Duke can go to the locker room with a double-digit lead.
And they're obviously going to take the last shot.
Hurt for 3. Rims out the tip, and it counts.
Now the officials are going to check that, but I thought that was good.
They're going to look at it. It looked from the naked eye that it counted. A 40-29 lead here at the half.
He had a blocked shot. He had a steal. So This is a very balanced, very effective Duke team. They started slowly, but once they ramped up that defensive pressure, there's nothing Georgia Tech could do.
They've had 4 different leading scorers in the last 5 games, has Duke. And right now here for the first 20 minutes, 5 players with 6 or more points. Yes, happy birthday, Trey Jones. He's got 6 of those points to go along with 4 assists, just 1 turnover.
And I think it's the pressure that's been applied by both Trey Jones and Jordan Goldwire against the Georgia Tech guards that has really disrupted what the Yellow Jackets are trying to do.
Goldwire begins the second half here on the floor. Critical early minutes here for this second half for Georgia Tech. And that'll be Matthew Hurt's second foul. First team foul here.
Georgia Tech got off to a great start, but it's hard to maintain that against Duke. And boy, 6 for 7, can't do much better than that. 4 for 21, can't do much worse.
Moses Wright sat the bench for the final 5 minutes of that first half because of those 3 fouls.
And I think that's part of the factor for Georgia Tech. Moses Wright was providing most of their offense inside.
Tough shot for Usher. And a rebound here for Stanley.
You don't make 6 of 7 if you're shooting those kinds of shots. Georgia Tech got good shots early in the game. They've been forced to tough shots since then.
Hurt. Yeah, Georgia Tech got a lot of paint points there in the first 7 minutes of that first half. A lot of drives, a lot of good passing, and really taking some tough shots ever since.
Well, it was Moses Wright who was getting those inside points. And there you go. There he is on the inside. And Alvarado, I thought he circled and circled a couple of times before he finally found Moses Wright.
Carey's got positioning on Banks.
Carey uses his body so effectively. He doesn't use that right hand very much, but he was able to use that body to ward off James Banks. Remember, Banks has 2 fouls, so he's got to be very cautious about picking up that 3rd one early.
Vernon Carey Jr., 3-time ACC Freshman of the Week. And has been terrific of late. One of the most efficient players in all of college basketball. He's got 11 here in the first half. 3 on the shot clock. Alvarado's going to have to shoot it over Hurd. Just a bad offensive possession. Duke's defense has been so consistent.
And that's the thing. But what Alvarado, he had an option. He could have thrown it inside to James Banks. From where we're sitting, it looked like he had the perfect lane, but he opted not to do that. And Jose Alvarado is 6 feet tall. It's going to be hard for him to shoot over the 6'11" Matthew Hurt.
Georgia Tech comes up with a turnover. Nothing has come easy here for Georgia Tech since that opening first 5 minutes of this game.
Even that turnover, you see how quickly Duke got back on defense?
Alvarado's got to start hitting some of these.
That's one place where Georgia Tech was lacking in the first half. Alvarado only attempted to, and he didn't make any. So if they can get the 3 ball going, particularly from Alvarado, they have a chance to close the deficit.
Georgia Tech was 1 of 7 from 3 in that first half. Carey. Georgia Tech throws it off the foot of DeVoe. Usher comes up with it, and here comes Alvarado. 2-on-2.
Boy, that was some play by DeVoe to keep that ball alive so Usher could go and get it. And a great job by Jose Alvarado to attack.
An 11-point halftime deficit has been trimmed to 6. Nice help defense there from DeVoe. Now on the offensive end to Wright. Fourth straight made field goal for the Yellow Jackets. It doesn't get much easier or prettier than that. bringing the house down and getting Georgia Tech back into this game.
And that's the kind of energy Moses Wright has displayed for most of the game. When he's been able to stay in there, he picked up those 3 fouls in the first half. But the key for Georgia Tech is they have created a couple of turnovers. They've gotten 2 steals in this second half, and they've been able to turn those into easy baskets. And at the end of the first half, that's what Josh Pastner's guys couldn't get. They were working too hard on offense.
The last time Coach K lit into his team, like we just saw, they responded. We'll see if they do here. So far, so good. There's Trey Jones.
And again, who is it scoring a basket when they absolutely need to have one? It's Trey Jones.
Trey Jones celebrating his 20th birthday today. He's got 8 points, and we got a foul out high. That's going to be on Goldwire.
Josh Pastner holding his breath, hoping that that wasn't an illegal screen call against James Banks. That was a good call because Banks didn't move. You can't just push your way through the screen, is what Goldwire tried to do.
Banks off the glass, had Moses under the hoop. Took the tough shot. Here's Trey Jones with a head of steam. Duke coaching staff wants a goaltend. They're not going to get it, but they will get some free throws.
Well, the ball never got up to the rim. Trey Jones really takes off. Look at James Banks. He's got his back to the play, but somehow as Trey Jones goes by him, he's able to turn around, find the ball, and swat it. The foul was called on Usher. James Banks does not look very comfortable on the offensive end, but he looks extremely comfortable on the defensive end.
39 blocks coming into tonight for James Banks.
Well, that wasn't a block because they've called the foul, but he did an incredible job finding Trey Jones.
7-point lead here for Duke. Usher to Wright. 10 on the shot clock. Usher to the hoop. Can't get that to go. Might have been impacted there by the long arms of CAREY. CAREY working on Banks.
Oh,
Spin.
wow.
Good move. Couldn't get it to fall. Here's DeVoe on a break. Turnover. And we're going back the other way. Here's Trey Jones. Hurt, open, yes.
Boy, that's a killer. That is just a killer. Josh Pastner's going to call timeout.
Pastner saying, I didn't want a timeout.
Well, he's standing there making the timeout signal.
And they're going to give it to him. Josh Pastner, none too pleased. Don't crinkle the 20. We're taking 7 a.m. Eastern, and then the Huddle crew gets you set for LSU Clemson at 6 with a 2-hour pregame. That takes you right up to kickoff at 8 Eastern. Then it's the game with the Clemson radio team led by Don Munson. That's part of the MegaCast. And after the game, the Huddle is back to break it all down with interviews with coaches and players. You can always watch it all on the ESPN app from anywhere. Duke with an 8-point lead here on Georgia Tech. Josh Pastner said we need performances from our backcourt. If our guards don't perform, you can start warming up the bus. Well, in that first half, DeVoe and Alvarado were 3 of 10 from the floor. We're 3 of 3 here early going in the second half. And some easier buckets down low. Right, good defense there from Hurt. Good rebound from Banks.
That was a much stronger finish by Banks than we've seen earlier in this half. And that's an example where Wright just forced that play, but because he drew so many defenders to him, nobody was available to block out Banks.
Georgia Tech hanging around here for the first 5.5 of this second half. Baseline J is good. That's Alex O'Connell, who has had himself a fine night. That's 9 for O'Connell.
When coming off the bench, Duke, see, when you're a deep team like Duke, you don't have to play necessarily. The same guys don't have to be the stars every night. You get different contributions. Whoever's playing well, they're the ones who get the minutes. Well, he's playing pretty well. And
Alvarado striking a little air guitar after that string music. Strong rebound off the miss from Carey. It's Banks pulling it down. Banks has 9 rebounds. One away from a double-double. Usher, that steps.
Usher has just been out of control here a lot in the second half. And Alvarado just does the great crossover dribble and then plays the guitar. Okay. Well, that's fine. It's good to be excited, but you're still down 5 points, so you got to dig in on the defensive end. And with Usher not playing well, they now have to play Parham, and that's tough because you're playing a Duke team that's got really good size, and both of your backcourt guys are 6 feet tall or less.
A foul down low. That one's going to be on Banks. That's his 3rd now.
See, and if you're Banks, you want to be battling for position, but you don't want to foul Javin DeLaurier without the ball. He has done such a great job, has Banks, blocking shots. I don't think DeLaurier is going to hurt you if he catches it in there.
Ray Jones. Corner to O'Connell. O'Connell will drive. Strong rebound from Wright. Wanted contact. They're going to get it. Javin DeLaurier, his 3rd, team 3rd here in the second half for Duke. What do you like about what Georgia Tech is doing here in the first 7 minutes?
Well, I think their intensity has returned, and they've been a little bit more careful with the basketball. Not perfect, but a little bit better.
Alvarado with the kick to Parham for 3.
The defense all collapsed around Wright, who was around Banks, who was open. And remember, Parham, we said he can score.
Little reach around there from Alvarado. Parham, one of the best scorers in the SoCon last year, averaged 22 a game.
Well, O'Connell had to scramble down inside to try to get in front of Banks, and that left Parham all alone. DeLaurier not able to get back to him sufficiently quickly, but that's one of the things that Georgia Tech is doing in this half. They're moving the ball by means other than just dribbling it, and so they're getting guys open.
10 on the shot clock here for Duke. Goldwire looking for help. 3 on the shot clock. Hurt. Rebound for Wright. Here's DeVoe for 3.
Duke going to get Vernon Carey Jr. back in the game.
And a turnover here for O'Connell. A 9-0 run for Georgia Tech. Getting some help from the 3-ball. DeVoe. Their first lead since it was 20-19 in the first half. They're up 1. Against Georgia Tech, but they're in a fight right now against these Yellow Jackets, and the main reason why, the 3-point line here in the second half.
Well, Georgia Tech obviously has made all 4 of their 3-point attempts, but they're also shooting the ball very well overall. And Duke, remember, they had turnover problems early in the first half. Well, they have returned 4 turnovers here in the first 8 minutes of this half.
Georgia Tech was 1 of 7 from 3 in the first half. They hit all 4 of their attempts here in the second half. One of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the ACC, but law of averages kicking in here. Alvarado gets the roll over Carey.
He just did a great job getting his head and shoulders past Trey Jones, and Carey couldn't get over in time to help.
Trap in the corner to Jones. Another turnover. And it rolls slowly out of bounds. DeVoe just watched it go. He couldn't do a thing.
Uncharacteristically, Trey Jones went into the lane, jumped up in the air before he had any understanding what he wanted to do with the basketball. Duke very, very fortunate not to lose that one because DeVoe couldn't control it. He fell on the floor and the ball just rolled out of his grasp. So not only does Duke get the ball back, they get another 30 seconds on the shot clock because the possession did indeed change.
Georgia Tech will try and clamp down again.
I think they need to get the ball inside to Carey. Duke has only attempted 6 free throws in this game. You need to do a better job getting to the line.
It's going to be a foul on Alvarado, and that is his second.
And both of them have been cheapies. Those are the kind that, you know, you want to play aggressive defense, but you just don't want to make plays like that. He had no chance to get that ball. And Josh Pastner's got to be careful. He was almost to half court, and the official warned him, told him to get back in the coach's box.
Trey Jones calling a blocking foul there. And Bubba Parham, transfer from BMI, rolls over on his side. That's his first.
But Jones that time decided he was going to take the ball all the way to the basket. I hope Parham is okay. He tried to step in there, but he didn't get there. And it looked like Jones got whacked by a couple other people going by anyway. But this is what I'm talking about. You've got to be more aggressive. You've got to get the ball inside, whether it be with the pass or the dribble. Of course, once you get to the line, you got to knock him down.
Trey Jones, normally reliable, 2 of 5 from the line here tonight. A 77% free throw shooter on the season. Misses both. Carey goes for the rebound, but we got a foul the other way. That's going to be the 3rd on Vernon Carey Jr., and Coach K can't believe it.
Well, that's a heck of a turnaround. Not only do you miss both of the free throws, but Carey gets his 3rd foul. Couldn't have gone much worse for the Blue Devils.
3 fouls on Vernon Carey Jr. National Player of the Year candidate, averaging 18 a game. Georgia Tech has hit 10 of their 14 attempts this half.
Trying to go after.
Trying to work on the guy with 3 fouls. Carey, good defense. Carey with steps.
The Duke bench is claiming that he walked because he got pushed. Georgia Tech they've really increased the defensive tempo, but once again, a nice job by Banks moving his feet. There was a little bit of contact there.
6 turnovers this half for Duke. Georgia Tech has lost 12 straight in the series with Duke. DeVoe, tough shot, rebound by Carey.
Now that's the formula that Georgia Tech used to fall behind in the first half. Way too much dribbling right there.
And an offensive foul away from the ball.
It's Trey Jones.
That's his second, and Coach K wants a timeout.
Down under the basket, Jones battling against Alvarado, and he puts that elbow and wraps his arm around Alvarado, does Trey Jones.
Coach K may have just called a timeout to discuss things with the officials.
And Josh Pastner wants him to take a look at the monitor to see if it's a flagrant foul. Even if you're a point guard, if you're posting up down inside and you wrap your arm around your defender, the official is going to call that a foul every time.
It didn't appear, even on the replay, that there was anything rising to the level of a flagrant foul. We're going to take a look at it.
But he does get his arm up above the shoulders.
Excessive in nature or unnecessary or avoidable.
Here he's battling at the top right of your screen. That arm comes up. No, actually Alvarado ran into him, but the foul is because he wrapped that arm. So there's nothing there.
Coach Pastner wanted them to look at it. I don't believe they did.
No, they did not. And the officials, they almost always, if the coach says we want you to go and look at this, they almost always go and look at it. So the officials were 100% sure there was nothing there. And that's the right decision. We don't need to slow the game down with unnecessary reviews.
Coach K got his final words in. He will sit, and Georgia Tech sits on a 3-point lead. 10 minutes to go here in Atlanta.
I like the idea of trying to take Alvarado down inside, though. You just have to execute that a little better.
Alvarado has had a great second half. Nowhere to go there as Carey comes up with it.
Banks really didn't help him much there. Carey went to the ball, and Banks didn't find an open spot for Alvarado to throw the ball.
He's been pretty quiet of late, trying to work inside. Loses it going up. Hurt. Rejected by Banks.
Not only did he block it, he came up with the ball. I'm not sure when he blocked Hurt's shot, he even left the floor.
Banks has been terrific on the defensive end, and now a foul on Stanley. That's his second.
Banks does a great job. Doesn't get very far off the floor, but he does a great job extending, keeping his body away from Hurts. That's just a great play. Banks has dominated the inside of this game defensively.
5 blocks for Banks tonight. Check that, 6. That's 45 on the season for Banks. Right, trying to work on Hurt. Carey with positioning. Duke wants an over the back. They don't get it. A double-double for Banks, 6 blocks. Working the glass both on the offensive and defensive ends.
Well, I think he caught a break right there. The officials did not call him for being over the back, but they could have.
Short clock, 5 on the shot clock. Here's Wright. Wright comes in for the offensive rebound.
Just because you get the offensive rebound doesn't mean you have to shoot the ball.
Stanley!
Oh!
Cassius Stanley! Soaring above the Atlanta skyline.
Well, Moses Wright gave him a chance. He took a bad shot that allowed Duke to get out and go. My goodness, a perfect pass. But it's hard to throw that pass to anybody other than somebody who can get up like that.
It was either Stanley or someone in the stands that was going to get that. How about that 40-inch vertical on display? My goodness. You may see that on SportsCenter tonight. And we'll see if that jump starts this Duke team. You're asking Josh Pastner about what he sees in this Duke team. He goes pro, 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 pro. Stanley's one of them. Tied at 53. Plenty of Duke faithful here making the drive from Durham to Atlanta. Right, working on White, nice pass! Georgia Tech's not going away.
Now, if you're Georgia Tech, I don't know that you really want Moses Wright dribbling the ball into the middle of that defense, but Delorier reacts trying to double team Wright, and he finds James Banks. That's a great pass by Wright.
Duke winners a 7 straight. Could be another turnover, saved here by Goldwire. Stanley. Cassius Stanley.
What a weapon that is. You need a basket, just have a guy give him the ball, have him go in, dribble in, jump up over top of everybody and dunk it.
Out of Sierra Canyon. Tied at 55. Alvarado.
Boy, that's a heck of a play by Alvarado. He read that defense perfectly.
He's got a game high 16, 12 of them coming in the second half. White for three. Yes!
I'm telling you now, Duke has so many weapons.
Just his 9th made three of the season.
Yeah, but he's a better three-point shooter than that. It's like we were talking about with Duke. They've got some guys that haven't really played as well as they thought they would.
And another turnover. Nice defense from Goldwire.
And Alvarado dribbled the ball into trouble that time.
Goldwire the dish and another turnover. Alvarado going the other way. And he'll draw the contact from Stanley. An up and down frenetic pace here in Atlanta.
Boy.
Duke with a 1-point lead. 6 and change to go. Have been living above the rim for the last few minutes, Stan Bonner.
Well, both teams have guys who can do it, particularly this guy, Cassius Stanley. I think his defensive work, particularly lately, has been very significant.
Cassius Stanley been getting it done on the offensive end as well. 11 points, hitting 5 of his 6 shots. How about Jose Alvarado? Talked to Josh Pastner, said, is it as simple as he goes, you go? He said, that's exactly what it is. If he plays well, we're good. If he doesn't or he's not playing, he's hurt like he has been, missed 7 games this season, we're just an average team. They're certainly above average tonight.
And particularly in the second half, Alvarado has been outstanding. For the most part, he's made really good decisions.
Scored 7 of the team's last 15 points, 12 points coming in the second half. Georgia Tech doing it in transition, getting it done in the paint, outscoring Duke 16-6 in the paint in this half. Alvarado calmly ties it at 58.
And they've also attempted more free throws in the game than Duke, and that's unusual. Duke, you know, it's not like a Duke team in the past where they make more free throws in their opponent's attempt, but coming into this game, they had scored 67 more points from the free throw line than their opponents. Uh-oh.
Throwing it down! Trey Jones to Cassius Stanley again.
Well, I'm watching that, and I think there's no way anybody can go get that. I thought that was thrown out of bounds.
Cassius Stanley. Banks over CAREY, gets his offensive rebound. Parham for 3. And that'll be an offensive foul on Banks.
Boy, all Banks had to do was dunk it, and he turned away from the basket.
That's Banks' 4th foul. He could have dunked it. I'm not sure he could have done this, though.
No, I'm not sure. Then he goes up with one hand and just tomahawks it. Obviously, Trey Jones knows the capabilities of his teammate, because I thought this one was going over the backboard.
Where do you want me to throw it? Anywhere below the rafters is fine.
Any place in the building, I'll go get it.
Cassius Stanley jumping out of his shoes tonight. Here's CAREY at the line. Very smooth free throw shooter. Made 30 of his last 42 from the line entering tonight.
And that's, again, you can't overstate the importance of the fact that Banks just picked up his 4th personal foul.
Banks with 4 remains on the floor. 6 minutes to go here in this second half.
If you're one of your veteran guys, you figure that you have to trust your veteran guys to play.
Banks rolls to the hoop. He's under there, but couldn't get it through the long arms of CAREY. Here's DeVoe being worked on by Stanley. 5 on the shot clock. Wright. Wright's been a little quiet here the last few minutes.
Oh, Wright hit that. They're right. I guess not. I guess it was Stanley that got it. .15 on the shot clock.
Georgia Tech now gone a little cold 2 for their last 10 from the floor. DeVoe with a cut and fade.
Tough shot, good shot though.
4 players in double figures for Georgia Tech. DeVoe, Banks, Wright, and Alvarado, each with at least 11. Alvarado leads all scorers with 18.
You don't want to disrupt what you're trying to do, but I sure think I'd give Vernon Carey Jr. a chance inside against the guy with 4 fouls.
They do just that. Stanley the rebound. No, and a rebound here for Parham.
Of course, the littlest guy out there is the guy who gets the rebound. But I think that's exactly where Duke needs to go. Vernon Carey Jr. make more of those than he misses.
12 straight wins in the series for Duke. It's been 10 years to the day tomorrow that Georgia Tech last beat Duke, and another careless turnover for Alvarado.
He was trying to bounce pass it with one hand to Banks and realized the pass wasn't going to get there. And since he's passing with one hand, he couldn't call it back.
Been pretty sure-handed here in this second half.
For the most part, yes.
Jones elevates and hits. There's a lot of talent on this Duke team, but as you said, there's some young talent here, and this is a good moment for them.
Well, they're going to learn the hard way what it takes to win on the road in this league.
DeVoe with a tough shot. Banks couldn't get that one to go, and that will stay Georgia Tech ball. Duke trying to shore up their 8th consecutive win. The final 4 minutes straight ahead.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Everybody knows that.
Here for Duke, Matt Schick along with Dan Bonner. 12 consecutive wins in the series for Duke. 7 consecutive wins overall on the season for Duke since the loss to Stephen F. Austin. What's going to be key here in the last few minutes here for Georgia Tech to pull off this upset?
Well, I think Georgia Tech has to take good shots. They've got to get good movement on the offensive end.
Devo's going to draw contact. Stanley disagrees with that, but it's his 4th. So you got 3 on Carey, 4 on Stanley.
And that's a pretty effective way to score if you can get it in there and get to the free throw line. That was a tough opportunity, though.
ACC Network grants you an all-access pass into Miami women's basketball. You've never before seen footage and sounds from head coach Katie Meyer and her staff and the players. 1-hour show premieres Sunday 8 Eastern right here on ACC Network and the ESPN app. 1 for 2 at the line for DeVoe. He's got 12. Banks has 12. Wright has 12. Alvarado leads all scorers with 18.
And keep in mind, Banks has 4 fouls, so the strategy for Duke again could be to get it in there and see if they can get that 5th.
Banks blocked it, but not before Stanley was fouled on his way to the hoop.
Yeah, I think DeVoe got him.
That'll be Mike DeVoe's 3rd. And both teams in the bonus.
Well, and in a close game like this, it wouldn't be surprising if it came down to who can get to not only get to the free throw line, but make them once they do. DeVoe just made 1 of 2.
Stanley coming off a 20-point out at Miami. Carey with the strong rebound. What a huge possession for Duke.
He just beat James Banks to the ball, and Banks with those 4 fouls had to be careful.
Inside to Banks, and that was a quick foul from Goldwire.
Boy, and Banks hesitated again. Goldwire was the only guy in the neighborhood, so why is James Banks pump faking Goldwire? You got to go up and dunk that.
Instead, the 63% free throw shooter will have to go to the line. Goldwire's 2nd, 9th team foul.
You know, Goldwire is 6'2". He's not going to take it away from Banks unless Banks dribbles it.
He was trying to wrap him up immediately. Stanley and Carey, your leading scorers for Duke, each with 14 points as the freshmen continue to lead the way.
Those are
big buckets there from Banks.
Those are huge free throws by Banks.
2-point game here in Atlanta. Stanley collects. Banks sends it back. 3-on-1. DeVoe for 3. Over the top of the backboard.
Banks has 4 personal fouls, but you would never know it based on the way he's playing. He does such a great job keeping his feet. Again, he doesn't go for fakes. He doesn't jump until his opponent leaves the floor.
7 blocks for Banks tonight. Jones creates space. What a nice play for Jones.
But how many big shots has he made in this game? Momentum turners.
He's giving himself his own birthday gift here tonight. Turning 20 years old. Trying to get the team its 14th win of the season. Hurt on the deck. That'll stay Georgia Tech ball.
Now the question is, did Hurt have possession of that ball? And the officials ruled obviously that he did not. If they did, they'd reset the shot clock, and the table is asking if they should reset the shot clock. So no, Hurt dove on the floor after the ball, but he never had possession.
Laurier is going to come in for CAREY.
Haven't heard much from Moses Wright lately.
Let's see if he heard you. Good defense there from Laurier and Hurt. 3 on the shot clock. He's trapped. Banks with the rebound. Can't get that to go, and a strong rebound for Jones.
Boy, Banks has really had himself a heck of a game, but he has missed some point-blank range opportunities against good defense, but against you need your big guy to make those in a game like this.
When they've needed a basket, Stanley's delivered, Jones has delivered. 5 on the shot clock. Gets the ball screen. Loses the ball. 2 on the shot clock. Jones. Parham deflected it, and that's a shot clock violation.
Now, that was really good defense by Parham, but Jones lost control of the ball just when he was trying to make his move.
14 turnovers for Duke. Officials conferring. Coach K trying to get on the discussion. It's a timing issue, trying to find out how much time should be on the clock.
Right, they called a shot clock violation, and they think the clock didn't stop.
Meanwhile, the teams get to huddle up and confer over the final minute 15. Take a look at this.
And what they're looking at is the time on the game clock. Shot clock goes to 0. Let's see. Shot clock. Well, we went through all that, and 1:15 is right. It looks as if there's 1 up there, and because the rule is that you have to shoot the ball and it has to hit the rim. And just because he shot it with 1 second on the shot clock, it's not a shot clock violation until it does not hit the rim.
Each team only had 1 timeout left. They got a free one there. So let's take that. 4-point lead here for Duke. What are you creating here if you're passing her? What do you want?
Well, you want the ball to get inside. You'd like to get Banks or Wright open on the inside, and if you can't, if the defense collapses, then you get it back out.
Banks, good defense there by Laurier. The Duke bench loving the effort.
That's exactly what Georgia Tech was looking for. They got the ball inside, and they had the matchup they wanted, but Laurier just made a great play. Now, Stanley helps out. He forced Banks to pause. And then Laurier just was in great position. And Parham is the guy who's going to pick up the foul, grabbing Laurier on the arm.
Javin Laurier. He stars in his role, right? He's an energy guy. He's never going to be your headliner. But here he is in his 98th career game at Duke. providing dividends on the defensive end and now the offensive end.
That's only his 3rd point of the game, but he's not in there to score points. He's in there to rebound, to set screens, to defend. And he made a great defensive play, and now he's converting on the offensive end.
Second on the team in rebounds and double-digit steals and block shots in there. Gets 2 key free throws, and now.
All right, if you're Georgia Tech, you got to go.
Wright can't connect, and a rebound for Jones.
Wright is a 23% three-point shooter. I don't think that's the guy you wanted shooting the 3. And now Georgia Tech with little choice. It's a 6-point game. They need the ball. The only way to get it is to foul.
Would have been a big shot for Wright. He's only made 4 of those all season.
Well, in certain situations, it's not a surprise that you're open from out there. And if you're Duke, I think you're happy that Moses Wright is shooting now.
Jordan Goldwire goes to the line now with a 6-point lead for Duke.
Hadn't been to the line often, but he's 7 for 9 on the season.
You were saying?
Mine is 7 for 10 on the season.
That's good math. Still a 2-possession game here. Unless he makes this free throw. 43 seconds left. Duke trying to win their 8th consecutive game. Misses both. 6-point game. Georgia Tech's got to push.
And whatever you do, you got to do it quickly.
Right. Tough left-handed shot. Ball on the ground. It'll be a jump ball, and that will be Duke basketball. A couple of 2 straight possessions there where you're probably not getting the shot that you want.
I think they were fine getting it inside to Moses Wright, but he wasn't as close to the basket as he needed to be, and Duke did a nice job keeping him from getting any closer, forced a very difficult left-handed hook shot.
Georgia Tech 1 for their last 11 from the floor. And they have to foul somebody, and they foul Trey Jones. Best free throw shooter on the team.
You know, Matt, people talk about defense and how defense wins games, and defense certainly puts you in a position to win a game, but if you're going to win a game like this, eventually you got to score, and Duke did at the end of the game. You just mentioned Georgia Tech 1 for their last 11. Their defense has been fine, but you've got to put points on the board, and Duke has done so. Georgia Tech has not down the stretch.
If you're Josh Pastner, this is a Duke team that had won their last 4 games by an average margin of 31 points a game. They'd won 7 straight by 23 points a game. Lead the country, one of the best in terms of scoring margins. What do you take away from a game like this?
Well, you take away from a game like this that you thought maybe you had some opportunities to win, and there was places and times where you just simply didn't execute.
And that ball will go back to Duke. 17 seconds to go. 7-point lead here for the Blue Devils. Looking for their 13th consecutive win in this series. For a while, it looked like Georgia Tech had a golden opportunity here. But Duke closed the door, as you said, defensively getting it done and hitting key shots. Trey Jones, a big part of that.
Well, and I think a lot of it has to do with the depth of Duke. They can just keep running guys at you. And Georgia Tech, they got foul trouble on Moses Wright. They got foul trouble on James Banks, and so when you're trying to beat a team like Duke, it's just hard when your guys are in foul trouble.
Well, Duke putting the finishing touches on this tough win against Georgia Tech, and you look at what they've got coming up. We mentioned ACC Network, a Wake Forest team that Duke has had their way with for many, many years now. Then they'll go to Clemson on ESPN next Tuesday. Get Louisville at home, Miami at home, Pitt at home. We've seen what this Duke team is capable of. When you look at their schedule, there's a lot of wins to be had.
Well, I don't think you can look and say one is a game they should win or anything like that. This is a Duke team, and if they play well, they have established that they can beat anybody in the country.
It's that narrative that we talked about, no dominant teams.
Well, I would disagree with you. I would disagree with you substantially.
Duke appears to be one of those dominant teams here in college basketball.
Matt, we're in a day and age where all we look at is numbers. It's numbers, numbers, numbers. There's you know, this efficiency rating and that efficiency rating and adjusted this and, you know, converted that and all this other kind of stuff. So if you look at those numbers, this is a Duke team that, I mean, what do you mean by dominant? Do they, you know, win every game by 30 points? Well, nobody's going to do that, but they're going to finish this game. They're going to be 14-1.
And that one loss that you were on the call for, by the way.
If they make a couple of free throws, and keep in mind that Stephen F. Austin has a better net ranking than the majority of the teams in the ACC. So it's not like, you know, that was a tremendous upset. Obviously, Stephen F. Austin was a 25-point underdog, but they can play.
Hit a couple of free throws, and they're undefeated.
Well, that's right. You know, a couple, they lost that game in overtime. They missed 16 free throws. They just make one of them. The game doesn't go to overtime, and we're having an entirely different conversation about Duke. People have forgotten about Duke because they lost that one game.
Well, it wasn't easy, but Duke gets the W. A rare single-digit win for the Blue Devils. And for tonight's player of the game, brought to you by Zaxby's, we turn to Cassius Winston, the freshman, Cassius Stanley, with the